Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 11th annual Battenhall Social Media Trends Briefing. It's great to have you. A round of applause already, that's fantastic. My name's Drew, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm the founder and CEO of Battenhall, and I'm one of the 120-person team here that's put today on. We've got the biggest event we've ever put on in 11 years. More speakers than ever, more authors writing more reports than ever as well, each of which are going to be sent to you this morning. We have panels, we have speakers. So without much further ado, what have we got in store today? This is an exclusive briefing. There will be a highlights package put together. There'll be some reports sent to people, but nobody's experiencing this other than yourselves. There'll be time for Q&As. You'll be getting everything that we publish today first, and please make the most of the opportunities outside. They include pastry, coffee and cold drinks, but most importantly, networking, because there's some fantastic faces here in the room, some old faces, and it's great to see you again, and some new. So welcome to a Battenhall production. A little bit about us before we present our reports. If you haven't come across Battenhall before, we're a social media consultancy. We're a global firm, mainly based in the UK, but we've got bases all over the world, LA, New York, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. And we're proud to be seen as good at what we do. Some might say the best, we don't, we just put it up on the wall. But putting this together today has been the Battenhall team. This is a photo of them in action in our studios in London. We're social media practitioners, so everything that we put together today is gathered from the front lines, from a year of doing what we do with brands across the world, across all sectors, and a fair amount of research as well. But mainly, this is some of the brightest sparks in the social media industry saying what they think lies ahead. It'll help you plan, it'll help you understand what's going on, to protect you, to give you ideas for exciting innovations. And it all comes from something quite special that we do here at Battenhall, which we call our 20% time. So 1 hour in 5 is saved for non-client work stuff. We learn new skills, we try innovations out so that we don't make mistakes on client time. We do work for charities and pro bono good causes as well. We try and do social media for good. And this is one of the great things that comes out of a work ethos like that. So that's enough about us. Wanted to cast back 11 years now and think about some of the trends that we stood up here and talked about over the last decade. Back in 2013, our entire company was 6 people, and there was this thing called Social Media Week where companies put on their own event, so we decided to put one on. We were going to hold it in the big meeting room, which held 12, and 800 people registered to come. So we thought, we'd better hire a venue, which is why we do it even still today. And the big trend back in 2013 was that brands were going to start using social media to communicate. And the main one was Twitter. That's gone full circle. In 2014, we predicted that video would go beyond just video platforms such as YouTube. We started to see the emergence of Snapchat, and then everybody copying things like Stories and Reels. In 2018, we saw the rise of an app called Musical.ly and another one called Discord. And a year later, Musical.ly turned into what is now known as TikTok. Not all the trends we predict are winners. We did tell you last year to try out the metaverse, and the year before that, I think it was NFTs. But you've got to be in it to win it. And some of what we're going to tell you today is pure innovation. Some are going to be your big bets. It's fair to say this has been the year where we've seen the most change in social media. But that has bred brand opportunity, first mover advantage where there has been none for many, many years. And I don't just mean fights amongst the owners. It's actually about making the most of the opportunities and the innovation that lies in the social media platforms themselves. But there's more choice than ever, it's more bewildering than ever, and you need to know where to place your effort, your money, and your teams for the year ahead. One thing that we do each month is we publish some social media stats, and we track the changes in the sizes of the big social networks. Some going up, some going down, all of them absolutely vast. And what we've done this year is we've been able to delve into over a decade of our own proprietary data. We're tracking how brands perform on different social networks, how people use them, the growth in overall size and engagement. And some of the years gone by, we've been able to go really deep and help you understand if you were to start doing content marketing, community management, innovation on a platform versus another, how to change it up to get the most impact. This is from last year's report. But this year, we have 5 fantastic topics that we're going to delve into. And here are our speakers. Starting things off, we're going to look at AI. Wrapping things up, we have our creator panel. And I'm delighted to welcome our client Kat from YouTube, Jade, who is a creator and founder of a creator brand herself, and our colleague Paige, and Rian, our MD of the UK, and Emir, who's going to be moderating it. And we have speakers Molly and Fabi, who are going to talk about the social media channels you need to understand for the year ahead, and what makes entertaining content. We also have 27 authors who have written the reports. If you want to fast forward to the end, that's your way to download the report on the QR code. But you'll have an email in your boxes anyway. So big thank you to all of the people that helped write the reports. Some of them are in the room, but this has come from our global teams, from Southeast Asia to the US to the Middle East. I hope you really enjoy reading them when you get there. Right, because I have the mic and I have a tendency to do this, I'm going first, and I'm presenting the first of our 5 trends. And it's all about safety on social media. I've had the most terrible cough for the last month, so if I die halfway through. And Molly's next. There we go. Safety. 8 out of 10 people that could use social media are using it nearly every day. Younger people use it more, but actually older people do too. Over 60s are only half less active on social media than 17-year-olds. The average 17-year-old is using social media nearly 5 hours a day. It's more with girls than with boys. They start younger than you think. And that's a lot of screen time. If you add it all up in the UK, the average Brit spends 75% of their waking time in front of a screen. A lot of that is social media. But is it really safe? I've been on some strange journey over the last year, and it's all been about social media and safety. Back last November, some lunatic bought Twitter and broke it to shit. And I'm gutted. I consider this cultural vandalism because I loved Twitter. I was one of the first people on it, and I used it a lot. And I woke up one morning in November and tweeted a BBC journalist from Radio 5 Live who was after Elon Musk to interview him about why he carried a sink into Twitter's head offices in San Francisco. He didn't reply. But the journalist replied to me and said, yeah, sure, you can come on. If you can get on the phone in half an hour, we'll have you on. I did a phone interview whilst my kids were getting ready for school. This is a 5 Live interview. And afterwards they said, do you mind if we add you to the central database of specialist spokespeople on social media? I was like, yeah, sure. And then all hell broke loose. It's been a tumultuous year for me because I started just getting invited into various different places in the media, delivering lectures and workshops about the dark side of social media. And for those that know me, I find that quite uncomfortable. I'm not really a dark person. I don't like talking about the dark stuff because it makes it sound like we're up to no good. But actually, improving people's safety, surely that's a really important thing to do. But nobody's doing it. I got called by the people that made a film featuring Rosie Jones on why bullying isn't stamped out on social media. I started looking at the impact of the regulation that's coming down the line. And I started to apply my 20% time for good to do something a little bit different. But how did I get down this weird rabbit hole of social media safety? Because it is something that's been a bit of a passion project for me for a long time. Well, you need to go really, really, really far back to 1984, when my parents bought me my first computer, and I taught myself to code. The language is called BASIC, like me, and that's the screen on the far left. It's an Amstrad CPC 464. They launched the previous year, and I don't know anybody at the age of 7 in the 80s who taught themselves to code other than me. I'm not very good. I made a man run from right to left across the screen, but that's code. In 1999, in my first job, it was in a tech company, and I was surrounded by web developers, so that's when I taught myself HTML. Not good at that either, but I started playing with websites, and they became social networks. One was called LiveJournal, and the other one was called Doobie-Doo, and that's a screenshot of Doobie-Doo. I think that's how you pronounce it, but you chat to strangers in a room and you get given a face. It's kind of like social media for beginners. 2006, it became called social media. 2019, I was invited on a stage to do a TED Talk. 2022, the Twitter thing. And now we're all addicted to our screens. 2 bonus facts. I wrote the page on social media on Wikipedia. I wrote the first 4 versions. You can go take a look. They're all really bad. I was doing it to promote that I'm really good at social media, but it's way better now. Other random fact, bonus photo, that's me in front of my computer. Some people say I look like my son, he's blonde, but the eagle-eyed amongst you can see I'm not coding, I'm playing Boulder Dash, but we'll leave that there. I'm going to move quick so not too many people take photos of that and put it on the phone. So, a roller coaster ride, and where are we now? Social media is on the verge of being one of these big toxic things. It's bad for your health. It causes illness. It causes people physical harm. Everyone's suing TikTok. TikTok's suing everyone. And just this morning, Ofcom released its plan on how to keep children safe online. You know, this is all moving very, very fast. But the safety side of it is starting to steal the limelight. So for this report that we're launching this morning, we wanted to take a look at what is harmful on social media and why. Now, Meta makes these numbers really hard to find, and I personally spent months collecting them and working with my very talented design colleagues to visualize it in this way. But this is just 9 types of content that Meta deletes from Facebook and Instagram every day because it's so harmful we shouldn't see it. It includes bullying and harassment, hate speech, child sexual exploitation, and they are all on the rise. Apart from child sexual exploitation on Facebook, but kids don't use Facebook. That one's on the decline, but everything else is on the up. You might say that's great. Facebook's taking it down, Instagram's taking it down, but it's still popping up. And I'm sure you've seen stuff that stays on there too. Like hate speech on Facebook every hour, over 8,000 posts require removal. You know, this is fast. So what's being done about it? This I took from the Ofcom website this morning. This is Ofcom's rollout plan. Within 2 years, they're going to make it illegal to do all that stuff. Slow clap for Ofcom. I know these things take time, but not everything's harmful on social media. There's this weird slide. This is a slide, but this is a slide. You know, down the one end, you've got the kind of the social networks down the far right, where people play nicely. It's a safe bet. Places like LinkedIn, you know, people tend not to troll or spam. Down the other end, it's the complete opposite. You know, Twitter, for those that still use it, is a troll fest. And somewhere in the middle, these social networks employ tens of thousands of safety staff whose job it is to take stuff down. Why do we care about safety now? To quote Phil and Kirsty, regulation, regulation, regulation. It's everywhere. There's the Federal Trade Commission in the US, there's the Digital Services Act with the European Commission, and now it's called the Online Safety Act in the UK, which is now law, and which Ofcom will be policing. And the first of these laws is going to be, how do we keep kids safer online? So, bringing it back up, a bit more lighthearted now because I don't like the dark stuff. In the year ahead, why does safety matter? Because we need to look after our communities, and we need to know the rules, just so that we're not doing the wrong stuff. It's the Olympics next year. It's the US elections next year. It's the Euros. There's loads of really high-profile stuff that history tells us bad stuff happens. Misinformation, disinformation, trolling, abuse, it all gathers like flies around a broken social network, and this is the year that it's going to happen the most. So to finish off my little bit on safety, I've got some tips, but before that, what happened in the last few months? I was asked to go on the Katie Piper show and talk about my campaign for social media safety. And I said, well, I have one, but I haven't called it anything yet. They said, give it a name, give it a website, and we'll get you on air to talk about why kids need to be kept safe online. I'm the father of teenagers, by the way, so I talk about this not just as a theorist, but first-hand learned experiences of how kids need to be kept safer online. But actually, this isn't just about kids, this is about everybody and the next generation of social media users. So in my 20% time this summer, I launched a little initiative called RAISE. It stands for Responsible Actions in Social Media for Everyone. I needed an E to stick on the end to make it a nice word. It's got a website, it's got some social handles, but the day I unveiled it, just so that they could point to it on a TV screen, dozens of people asked if they could help. So I've been up to mischief since then. Small things like I will get stopped at something I'm speaking at and asked to help. For example, somebody's child who's being bullied on a social networking app, which I was proud to have helped fix. Something rather larger, brands sometimes come to me and ask me to help their talent or their staff to be safer online using things like the law or police. There's tricks and ways to do it, which you need a bit of experience, and I'm happy to have been able to do a lot of that at no cost too. But what's really interesting, if you'd have asked me last November where this would have ended up, I would never have told you I'd be going to prison, but I have. Went last month, I'm going next week, and I'm going in December too, because I've been invited into prisons to train residents who are about to come out and who've never experienced a world with social media to help keep them safer. It's women's prisons too, and I was blown away by their appetite to learn, but also how I could help and how anybody here could help anybody like that. Because it's not just people in prison who've never tried this before. It's younger people, it's older people. They don't just want to help themselves, they want to help their children, they want to help others. You're not allowed to take a photo in prison. I tried, they told me to delete it. So this is me stood outside. HMP Send, which is in Guildford, and I'm going there again next week because they've asked me back. I'm really proud of having delivered that, but I'm looking forward to the year ahead where I can keep meddling and doing good with social media and safety. So, why is this important for brands and for people working in social media? You have got a wider selection before. You just don't want to play in the places where it's a bit dangerous. And if you do, you need to know your way around. How to report stuff, how to take stuff down, how to build a brand safely. Everything's changing shape rapidly. And here in our team at Battenhall, we're constantly having to change track. So telling a client that they should or shouldn't do something used to be something you do every 2 years. It's honestly every 2 days at the moment. Look deeply at the content and at your data. The Battenhall Insights team, which is part of our company, fuels us with this data every day. You need to be looking at it really closely to track what's happening, how things are shifting and changing shape. For many, that's why Twitter's being increasingly crossed off the list, not just to advertise on, but we're seeing brands say they just don't want to publish any content there because it's not getting any positive engagement. So things change quickly, keep a close eye on the data and act on it. And then use technology to augment your work. That's stuff like AI, which we're going to come on to next. Data processing, capturing stuff that you would not otherwise have captured, and work hard to protect your team using this. So all on one slide, what do you need to do? Work with the best, the channels, the right influencers, the right people, look after your team, protect them, and know the rules so you can stick within in your lanes. You're probably building a community somewhere. Look after it. You might need to take stuff down just as much as the social networks do. Think global, because all of these rules change from country to country. So you've got to cast your mind a little bit wider than you might have otherwise done in the past when nothing's illegal. And keep a really close eye on ad spend, but look for the new opportunities to get best bang for buck. Do please take a look at the safety report that we're launching today, because it's got loads of case studies of people that have been on our team, banned from social media for doing stuff that was fine, but they won't let you back on because they don't have any safety stuff anymore. We've looked at doxing, we've looked at the impact of social media on mental health and certain growth networks in Southeast Asia as well. It's fascinating first-person stories. But before I wrap up, I have a bonus slide. I bought back the computer. I may or may not cut, that's my desk. But I did buy Boulder Dash 2, so I'll start playing that again. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the talks. Now I'd like to welcome onto the stage Sam Mead, Antonino Lupo, Nicole Mezazalma, and Ashley Penny, who are going to talk to you all about AI. Thank you very much.